This happened over 10 years ago, but it still keeps me up at night. I had a really good friend back when I was in high school named Andrew. He was super into the occult, tarot cards, astrology, that kind of stuff. He also liked to dabble with the paranormal. And one day, he brought home a Ouija board. Now, personally, I'm not really into that sort of thing, but he had it, so sometimes we would just mess around with it when we were bored. But this particular day was different. It was the first time that he invited me over to try it out in his room after school. So, after we did our homework together, we decided to go ahead and see what would happen. He laid out the Ouija board on his desk, lit some candles around the room, and put on some spooky music in the background to set the mood. Then he said, "Okay, I have 3 rules. No names, no dates, and no yes or no questions." So I'm sitting there at the table with him, and we put our hands on the planchette, which is the thing that moves around the board. Then, after a moment of silence, Andrew asks, "Is there anyone here with us?" And then we started moving around the letters, slowly at first, then faster and faster until it spelled out, "Yes." Then we asked, "Are you friendly?" And it spelled out, "No." We got scared and ended up calling it a day. So we turned off the music and turned off the lights, and I went home. But I didn't think much of it. I thought it was just a bunch of BS. Until the next day, at school, Andrew wasn't there. I found his locker and knocked on it a few times until I heard a response. When I opened it, though, instead of finding him, I found this. On the floor, in front of his locker, were all these random pages from different books about demonology, witchcraft, and dark magic. On one of the pages, it even had a sigil drawn on it. A sigil is like a symbol that represents a certain demon or entity. It's like their name or something. So anyways, it was all really creepy and disturbing. But I still didn't think too much of it. I was like, whatever. Andrew's probably just messing around again. So I continued my day at school. But then, an hour later, I felt something weird behind me, and when I turned around, this big group of kids surrounded me, and they were all staring at me and whispering to each other. And then one of them said, "Hey, have you seen Andrew today?" And I was like, "No. Why? What's wrong?" And he said, "Oh, nothing. Never mind." And then they all walked away and left me alone. That was odd, but I figured they probably just knew something that I didn't. So I tried not to think about it. But then I got home from school that day and checked my phone, and this is what I saw. All of these text messages from Andrew. They all said things like, "Help me, don't trust anyone, and they're after me." All of them were sent between 12 and 3 p.m., which was strange because that's when I was at school. How could he have been texting me from school? And that's when it hit me. He didn't send those text messages. Someone or something else did. I immediately called his house, but no one answered. His dad was usually home during the day since he worked from home, but apparently he wasn't there. And as I was about to call 911, this woman came to the door. She was crying, and she introduced herself as Andrew's mom. When she saw my face, she immediately started screaming. She said, "You have to help me. I can't find Andrew anywhere." We spent the entire afternoon looking around the neighborhood for him. But the more time that passed, the more worried I became. The sun went down, and it started to get dark, and we still hadn't found him. Then we finally called the police, and they started searching the area. But they couldn't find anything either. So they told us to go home and wait for them to search our houses just in case. When I arrived home, I told my parents everything that had happened. The Ouija board, the texts, everything. They were obviously worried about me, but they didn't believe in any of that paranormal stuff. They thought it was all in my head. But then we got a phone call from the police saying that they had found Andrew's body. He was found in a shallow grave in the woods behind our neighborhood. Apparently, he had been strangled with a pair of shoelaces. At first, we were relieved that they had found him, but then our relief quickly turned into horror when we learned the details about how he died. The police said that he had been reported missing by his own parents. He had left home that morning for school, but he never made it. And when his parents got home from work at around 5 p.m., they noticed that he wasn't there and he didn't answer his phone. So they started searching for him. That's why they didn't answer my phone calls. They were literally searching for him at the same time that I was. But the part that freaked me out the most was that apparently he had struggled. There were footprints all over the place, and his backpack was ripped and unzipped. Anyways, I'll spare you the rest of the gory details. Let's just say that whoever killed him definitely meant him harm. The police eventually caught the guy who did it. He confessed to the crime, and he's now in jail. Apparently, he had been stalking Andrew for a while, and he just happened to be at the same party that he was at when he brought the Ouija board home. And he had gotten into a fight with him, and it just spiraled out of control. However, there was one detail about the killer that was really creepy. He claimed that he acted alone, but the police never believed him. They said that they had evidence that someone else was involved, but they never revealed what that evidence was. Anyways, when Andrew's parents found out what had happened, they threw out the Ouija board, blaming it for causing all of this. But I kept mine. I know a lot of people say that Ouija boards are safe and it's all just a coincidence, but I don't know. I feel like there's something out there that doesn't want us humans to know about it. I mean, just look at all the footage of seances where people get absolutely terrified and run away from the room screaming. I also read online that according to the original patent, a Ouija board is designed to allow spirits to communicate with the living. So maybe it's not just a game. Maybe there's actually something on the other side of that board that wants to talk to us. What do you think? Have you ever played with a Ouija board before? Let me know in the comments if I should tell the full story. Also, if you like scary stories, then make sure to subscribe for more real horror stories each week. Thanks for watching. Bye.